You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 125. My ex and I had the deepest connection. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. All right, my Bravehearts, we are here to talk about something that comes up all the time. I get questions about it on Instagram. It is all over inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. We are talking about connection. We are talking about chemistry, and we're also going to talk about attraction. Too many of you have increased desire and attachment to your ex because you think thoughts that create desire, like we had the deepest connection, I had an amazing connection with him, he had a deep connection I can't have with anyone else, I've never had that connection with anyone else, I'll never find someone I think is as physically attractive as him, we had the most amazing chemistry, I don't have that kind of chemistry with anyone else. Many of my clients, many of the Bravehearts who listen to this podcast ask this question, and it's all coming from your perceived connection and chemistry and attraction that you had with your ex. And the main issue and problem and component that is happening with this is that you think connection, deep connection, is something outside of yourself, right? We think that connection is something that your partner, now your ex, brought to the table, as if connection just happened to us. We just happened to have chemistry. But I am here to tell you that chemistry is something you created. Deep connection is something you created. Attraction, being attracted to something or someone, was something you created. Connected is a feeling. Attraction is a feeling. Chemistry is a feeling. And as all of you now know, if you've been listening to the podcast, feelings are created by the optional sentences, the thoughts that we have in our brain. So if you are experiencing connection or chemistry with your ex, it's because of the thoughts you're thinking. This is why one person in a relationship can be like, oh, we had the best connection. Like we had the most amazing chemistry. And the other person is like, absolutely not. It went terribly. It was not a good conversation. No connection there at all. Both of them experienced the same conversation. Both had very different thoughts about that conversation, about themselves, about the other person, that created either connection or what's the opposite of connection? Like disconnected, not connected, right? Also think about connection when it comes to inanimate objects. Some people feel connected to inanimate objects. One of those examples for me would be crystals. I have these crystals that I have a great relationship with. My mom loves rocks. Some people love their plants. Some people feel deeply connected to pieces of paper or books. How do we feel a deep connection to these inanimate objects? Well, because of what we make those things mean, the thoughts they are choosing to think about those inanimate objects. So some thoughts that I see that create deep connection in relationships is this person gets me. This person really sees who I am. They are so inspiring. He or she knows me so well. We are perfect for each other. We fit like two peas in a pod. He fits me like a glove. The same thing is to be said about attraction. We think someone has to have like a list of physical qualities in order to feel attracted to that person, and that is a strong no. You have simply built up default thought patterns that are associated to those qualities. You see that quality, your default thought pattern, your neurons fire with that default thought pattern, and you have thoughts about those qualities. You make those qualities mean something that then make you feel attracted. That is why sometimes at first sight, we don't find someone attractive, and then we get to know them and we start creating thoughts that generate the feeling of attraction. So thoughts that create attraction are, he's so handsome, he's manly, he's so sexy, I feel so little next to him, completely taken care of, we look like a power couple, he knows exactly how to satisfy me, his smile is perfect. All of those thoughts can create a lot of attraction. Now, the main message I'm trying to show you here is that creating deep connection, having chemistry with someone, and feeling attracted to someone is not outside of you. You created the chemistry you had with your ex. You created the deep connection you had with your ex. You created the attraction you had towards your ex the whole time in your relationship. That experience is something that you created for you. Now, with that being said, sometimes it's easier to have thoughts about specific people because they have those qualities, because you've already set up those defaults. Like I said, it might just be a default thought pattern when you see that specific quality based off of what you've made that quality mean about that type of person. So an example that I'd like to share is tall versus short. And oftentimes we're talking about a tall man or a short man. But again, like I'm just talking about this in general. Some of you think you need to be with someone else who's tall because they make you feel small. You think you feel small being next to a tall person, but only because you're having thoughts that make you feel small. When you're with a shorter individual, you think it means you're big, and therefore you have negative thoughts about yourself, which causes less attraction to the other human being. But you do have the option to change your thoughts versus the person. Again, you don't have to. You never have to change your thoughts. Just because we can change our thoughts doesn't mean you have to. But just look at what thoughts you have that are creating attraction or the lack thereof. I have too many people reaching out to me saying that all these things about dating apps, they're not finding people who they feel attracted to. And I'll do a whole episode on dating apps. That's a whole separate conversation. But when you're not feeling attracted to someone, it is because you have negative thought. No, I shouldn't say negative thoughts. You have thoughts that reduce attraction. So look at what those thoughts are. Look at what the thoughts that you have are that are, reducing connection even. And lastly, I want you to think about what happens when you think the thought, I don't have a connection with this person, versus I have a very deep connection with this person. Your circumstance, which is neutral, is a human being. There's a human being that you're having words with. If you believe we have the best connection, you feel connected. When you feel connected, you show up by being open. You talk to that person. You get vulnerable. You share secrets. You're open, and then you're also probably actively listening to that person, which results in I create the best connection. Versus when you have the same circumstance, which is a human you're having words with, and you choose to believe we don't have a connection at all, it makes you feel resistant and hesitant and maybe even nervous, which then fuels behavior such as pulling away, isolating, ruminating about how different you are, aka not actively listening. You then therefore do not share or get vulnerable. You don't open up, which then results in I don't create a deep connection. What? Think about that. So the solution to all of this, in my mind, is just purely awareness and taking responsibility. Take responsibility for the connections you create. Take responsibility for the connection you create inside of your last relationship and in potential relationships. Take responsibility for the attraction you create inside of your last relationship and in potential new relationships. When you can look back and say, I had a deep connection with my ex because ... and list out all the thoughts that created that emotion, right? The feeling of being attracted to this person, you'll notice a difference, because you're going to notice a difference between the thoughts that you have about your ex and who you are inside of that relationship in comparison to the dates that you might be going on now. Meaning, if you had those lists side by side, you would notice, you would read the list of the thoughts that you had while you were in your last relationship, and you'd probably feel connected and attracted, versus the thoughts that you're thinking about these potential dates that you might be going on or these potential new partners. What are those thoughts? And when you read that list of thoughts, do you feel connected and attracted? Probably not, or else you probably wouldn't be listening to this episode. And like I said, just because we can change our thoughts doesn't necessarily mean we have to. So you may look at some of this and just become aware of it and still decide you don't want to change your thoughts about it, and that is okay. For example, my most recent relationship before the one I'm in currently, I had great thoughts about the connection I had with this man. We had an amazing connection, and I loved it, and I thought it was great, and I'm so proud of myself for, creating thoughts that generated an amazing, beautiful connection between the two of us. So proud of myself for that. However, the qualities that he had physically, he was what we would say a shorter. He was how do I put this? He was the same height as me, maybe a little bit shorter. I'm very much not someone who cares really about height, I don't think. And so going into it, it wasn't necessarily a problem, but I did realize, part of the way through our relationship, I had some default thoughts that were not negative, I would say, but they were a little bit neutral. And I wanted to get to this place where I just loved how we looked in public. I wanted to get to this place where I loved his height, and I did that through changing my thoughts. And one of the thoughts that generated actually a lot of powerful feelings for me is when we were going out and I would wear heels and I was taller than him. I just thought it was so cool that he was that secure in himself to be okay with that. And I made it mean we're a power couple. And when I believed we're a power couple, I felt connected. I felt attracted to him because of his security with it. And I felt beautiful and elegant and all of these amazing feelings when I changed my thoughts about how amazing it was that I could be taller than him in public, and we looked like a badass couple that way. So really, in conclusion, I just want you to stop using connection and attraction and chemistry as a reason you desire your ex. You can and you will create connection to anyone and anything you want to by changing your thinking. You can and you will create attraction to anything and anyone that you want to by changing your thoughts. You will absolutely create a deep connection with another human being and find someone as physically attractive, if not more attractive than your ex. And it was never your ex that created that in the first place. It was always you and your beautiful thoughts. So 1, understand what created connection and attraction inside your last relationship with your ex. What thoughts created those feelings? Number 2, look at what thoughts you have now that are creating a lack of connection and attraction. And number 3, decide on purpose to build the skill of creating connection in a variety of ways by using your thoughts. All right? And if you want to learn more about creating deep connection, attraction, and chemistry, I hope you join us inside of the Get Over Your Ex program, where we have a deep connection workshop and we deep dive and we learn this and we create this on our own. All right, my beautiful Bravehearts, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.